Hello soulmates, welcome to another tutorial. This is So with Oma. In today's video, we'll be learning how to draft and cut the built-up halter neck line and also the C-cut on the side, the illusion we have on the side. Okay, so without wasting much time, let's get into the video proper. Usually whenever I want to start drafting, I go from the tip of the paper, from the beginning of the paper. I go down by 1 inch, right? But for this particular tutorial, I'll be doing more than 1 inch. I'll be going down by 5 inches. So I'll go down by 5 inches from the tip of the paper. So here we have it. Okay, now using my straight ruler, I'm going to connect like so. I'm going to connect like so. The next thing I'm going to do is to get all my points starting from this baseline, right? I'll start to getting my chest line. To get the chest line, I usually divide the shoulder measurement by 2. So the shoulder measurement for this client is 16 inches divided by 2 is 8. So that's what I'm going to mark here, 8 inches, alright? So that will be my chest line. That will be my chest line. And I'm also going to connect like so. I'm also going to connect like so. The next line I'm going to get is my bust point. The bust point for this client is 10 inches. And so I'm going to, from my baseline, right? So the bust point 10 inches. I'm going to also connect like so. The next thing to get is my under bust point, and then after which I'll get the waist point and the hip line, and then the length of the dress, right? So I'll get my under bust point first, my waist point. The waist point is 18 inches, under bust is 13 inches. Of course, when you want to do yours, you're going to use either your measurements you're making for yourself or for your client, or your client's measurement. The chest line, let me just indicate: chest line, bust points, under bust, connect my ruler, waist points, the waist points. Now the hip point for this client is 28. The hip point is 28. So I'm just going to stop at the hip point because our paper is not enough. So I'm just going to stop at the hip point because the illustration for the C cut on the side, the waist area, that's the side, is up to the hip point. Alright, so let's just say this part is our length, right? The remaining parts will just serve as the length. Okay, so now coming back to this place, on my chest line, I'm going to get my shoulder measurement, my armhole on my chest line. So now I'm going to still take back my shoulder measurement divided by 2 on the chest line and mark it here. And then on the baseline, I'll do the same thing: the shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'll mark it there. Using my straight ruler, I'll connect. I'm trying to get my armhole. Alright, so before then I'm going to come down from the baseline by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And then on this side, the center front, I'm going to get my neckline width, which is 3 inches, the neckline depth, which is also 3 inches. And then using my straight ruler, I'll connect the shoulder slope from the neck all the way to the 1 inch shoulder slope. And then using my curved ruler, I'm going to connect the neckline. I'm going to connect the neckline. To get my armhole from this shoulder slope to the chest line, I'm going to get the total measurement and divide it by 2. That is 7 divided by 2, which also is the midpoint of this, from this place to this place. That's the midpoint. So from that midpoint, I'm going to go in by half of an inch, And then on my chest line, I will get my bust measurement. That's my bust circumference divided by 4. The bust circumference of this customer divided by 4 is 10 inches. So I'm going to indicate that now. And then remember, I came in by half of an inch. So I'll just place my curve ruler like this and connect to the shoulder slope. All right, so I just connected to the shoulder slope. Then the next thing I'm going to do on my under bust point, I'm going to get the under bust divided by 4. Of course, the under bust divided by 4 for this person is 8 inches. The same thing as the waist point. The waist point is also 8 inches after dividing by 4. Now the hip line, let me indicate that the hip line. So the hip line for this person is 46 inches. So 46 inches is about 11 and a half. So I'm going to indicate that after divided by 4, 11 and a half. All right, that's the exact thing I'm going to take down here as well, 11 and a half. So note, if you're making this as a long dress, right, and maybe you get to the knee point, going to get to the knee point, you may want to make the knee fitted. It just depends on the agreement you have with your customer. So if you're making the knee fitted, you know you're not going to take your hip down, you're going to get your knee circumference. All right, so with that being said, let's just move on. With that being said, let's just move on. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get my curve ruler. So I'm going to use my curve ruler now to connect all these points that I've made on the circumference. All right, so I'm just going to connect all these points like so, and then to the hip, sorry, to the hip, right? So I connected that already, and now just use a straight part to connect this one like so, right? So here we have it. I hope you can see it. Okay, so here we have it. Now the next thing I want to do now, is to get my dart. So this particular um dress is going to have several darts. All right, so it's going to have several darts. It's going to have a shoulder um dart, it's going to have an armpit dart, and also the basic dart for any basic bodies. So we'll start first with the basic dart, which I'm going to start from my chest line. So from the chest line, I'm going to go now and get the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. So the nipple to nipple measurement for this person is 8 inches, divided by 2 is 4. So that's what I indicated there. So I'm going to just continue marking this all the way to the length, right? All the way to the length, of this dress. So using my straight ruler, I'm going to connect like so. Okay, I'm going to connect like so. Okay, so now I've connected. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my dart now. So from the waist point, I'm just going to do a quick darting. From the waist point here, I'm going to go by half of an inch on both sides. Come to the under bust also, I'm going to go by half of an inch on both sides. Okay, and then using a straight ruler, I'm going to connect like so, or connect like so, connect like so. Now after connecting, I'm going to now find a way to slant it so that it becomes pencil on the chest line while I'm connecting, just like this. Okay, so I'm trying to slant it so that it's not straight again, just something like this. Okay, so on the hip point, I'm going to do the same thing. So from my waist, I'm going to find a way to connect it like so. All right, so yeah, I'll do the same thing on the other side as well. Just find a way to connect it like so. Right, so we have our basic dart here, right? So the next thing we're going to come and do, the next thing we're going to do now is to get our shoulder dart. So you're going to see why we are having or we're fixing all these darts. They are all essential for this particular style. So our shoulder, we'll come to the shoulder and get the accurate measurement dart from this point to this point, and then divide by 2. So I've gotten my midpoint for this. Using my spatula, I'm going to connect like so. I'm going to connect like so back to the chest line, okay? Back to the chest line. Now on the chest line, I'm going to go on both sides half of an inch, half of an inch, and then using my straight ruler, I'm going to connect like so, right? I'm going to connect like so. Yeah, so we have our shoulder dart already. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my armpit dart, and for that, the first thing I'll do is I've already gotten my midpoint. This is my midpoint now. I'll just extend it back to the armhole. And now the next thing I'll do is to get the total amount from the shoulder slope, curving it like this to the bust point, okay? And I have about 8.5 inches, so I'll divide that by 2, which is about 4.25, something like that. So it's around here, right? So I'm going to indicate that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to find a way to connect this. I'll find a way to connect this. I'll find a way to connect this. Alright. So once I've done that, this part I'm going to just do it like this. Alright. I'm just going to do it this way. So you can actually do only this one, or you come to this side again, take half of an inch and connect. So let's just take half of an inch. That's, this from this point to this point is half inch, right? From this point to this point, you can add another half inch, or you leave it that way. So let's just say that we're doing another half inch. So we've gotten our armpit dart, right? So this is it, and this is what we have. The next thing we're going to do is on our neckline. Let me just quickly get the back depth of our neckline. So the back depth will be 1 inch. So let's just use this front to get our back. I hope you understand what I mean. Now, after getting your back, you're going to place your staple like this, right? Just to get the total amount. Here I have 3.5 inches, okay? So you're going to note that. You're going to note that when you note that 3.5 inches on this point, that's on this your neck width, right? That 3 inches that you mark from this point to this point, you come there and place your ruler, like your taper like this. Place that 3.5 inches that you got as your back. We are trying to get our back collar, right? So you're going to indicate it like so. Now you just roll a straight ruler. First of all, you just roll a straight ruler. Remember this particular style doesn't have any shoulder whatsoever, right? So this shoulder automatically is going out. So we're not going to be making use of this shoulder. Alright, but just hold on and watch what I'm doing here. So the next thing I'm going to do is from this point now, I'm going to try and get about maybe 3 inches. So to get the wideness, something like that, which is about 3 inches or 2.5. So I'm making use of 2.5. I don't want it to be too wide, so I'm making use of 2.5 inches. All right. So this part now, this straight part, I want to find a way to curve it. So I'll go in from this place. I'm going from this place by half of an inch. Now I'm going to try and curve in all the way to meet this point, right? To meet this chest line. Just observe it. I'm going to curve it all the way to meet this chest line. You can decide to go down a bit. It just depends on how open you want it to be. So this curved line now that I'm trying to get. So let's just work with this place first. Let's try and connect from here to here first. Also note that it is not very curvy. Like, it's not very curvy. It's almost like straight, but I want mine to curve. So that's what I'm going to do here. Alright, so I'm just going to find a way to get it like this. Okay, so after I've gotten it this way, I'm going to place my ruler now like so, and continue to connect back to that 3.5. I don't know if you've seen what I did, right? I don't know if you saw what I did. So this is the first thing that I did, right? The next thing I'm going to do is I want to get the width of the collar, right? The back collar. I want to get the width of the collar, and I'm going to be making use of 2.5 inches, right? Because I don't want it to be too big. You can use 2 inches or 2.5, honestly. So, but for me, I want to make it of 2.5, or I can still go ahead to say 2 inches. I can still go ahead to say 2 inches. So now on this part, remember, you're going to also go up so that you are very accurate by that your 3.5 inches. Use your straight ruler to connect like so. Use your straight ruler to connect like so. And then now we're going to work with our curved ruler. But before that, we want to get the neck depth. So I'm going to be going down to the chest line, making use of the chest line, right? So this will be our neck depth. Remember, if you look at the style, it has like a C opening, or like a plunge neckline, something like that. So that's what we want to achieve. And by so doing, I'm going to find a way to connect it like so. So from this my half inch first, I'm going to find a way to use my curved ruler to connect it like so, right? So I'll just connect it like so. Just do this, right? My marker is faint now, so I'll just do something like this. I hope you can see it, right? So after that is done, I'm just going to get my curve ruler, flip it to the other side, and find a way to just connect it like so. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I'll just find a way to connect it like so. So this is basically what it is for the upper part, right? This is basically what it is for the upper part. Now look at the reason why we needed all these dots for to tighten all these areas. Because if these dots were not here, honestly speaking, it will be very difficult for this place to relax. It will be very difficult for this place. So let's just assume that we did not have our shoulder dot and our armpit dot around this side. It will be very difficult for this place to relax. It will be really very difficult for this place to relax. So two ways to actually hide this dot, right? So in case you don't want to exactly make it obvious. Now, if you're working with a lace fabric, what you just do is you're going to have this dot on the um lining. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Like, now if you're having a lace, it means the lace is not the only thing, because to be transparent, you're going to have something under the lace. So that thing under the lace is what you would dart here, right? So then you can do a lace placement. That is if you're using a lace and you don't want it to be obvious. Another way you can cover this is by just simply closing all these darts, right? To close all these darts. If you're working with a stretchy fabric, it works amazing. But most times you're working with a fabric that doesn't stretch, you just need to find a way to have this dart around, or you close it and close it properly. What I mean by closing is you come this way, you close it, and you come this way, you close it, then you cut out, right? So that way the excess is no longer there. The excess is no longer there. And that is that on this part, right? Now we're going to move to the waist area, to get our C. We're going to move to the waist area to get our C. Now we're going to connect all the way to the waist. So from this point, maybe from somewhere, either from the bust point to the waist, and then to the hip, or depending on where you want to stop, you can decide to go up, not to use the exact hip, because what I'm saying is not the exact hip. So we can decide to do this, right? So I'm starting from my bust point, and then I'm going up by 2 inches or 2.5, let me say 2.5 inches, right? So now what I'm going to do is, on my bust point, remember I said the meeting point is the waistline, right? Is the waistline. So I'm going to come here on the bust point. I'm going to come here using my curve ruler and placing it like this, and then rule this way, flip it to the other side, maintaining the meeting point, right? I'm going to come this way again, and then just connect like so. All right, so yes, this area now would serve as, this area is going to serve as the opening. This area is going to serve as the opening, right? That illusion. So you can have a net here, you can have a net here. So if you want to have a net here, or if you want to leave it open, it means you're cutting this place completely out, right? But if you want to have a net around here, if you want to have a net around here, it means whatever you cut out, you're going to keep this paper to cut on your net, to use as a map to cut out your neck, and your net rather, sorry, your net. So this is basically it. I mean, this is what it looks like. This is what the front looks like. The back is just something very, it's very, it's an alter neck, right? So there is no shoulder at the back. So the back, you can just use the from the chest line. This is how the back is also going to look like. It's going to look this way. So you just get the same thing here at the back. So you can use one paper to get the front and the back. Remember, you can use one paper to get the front and the back, because it's an alter neck. So the back is going to be a low back. Then you get your zip dart here, and then that's basically it for the back. All right, so the front is where we have more work, and this is basically what it is. We're going to cut out now. We're going to cut out now. Now on my bust point, right? Remember, this dart extends to the chest line, which is not supposed to be. So I'm going to find a way to connect this now, this under bust, to the bust point, right? To connect it back to the bust point, all right? Which I've done, right, to this bust point, so that when I'm cutting out, it will not be on the chest line. And now I will use my curve ruler to just find a way to make it curvy, to make the side piece curvy, right? To make the side piece curvy. Okay, so that is that about it. So now let's cut out. Let's cut out. Don't forget to replace your dart. So that replacement is about 1 inch. 1 inch, 1 inch. Okay, so it's still the same thing. Just find a way to take this up, connect it this way, connect it this way. All right, and then back to the hip line, back to the hip line. So yeah, that is that. So this is, we're still going to cut this out, remember. So let's just cut out. So let me take the paper out now. We want to start cutting out. Let me bring it close. Let me start from the up. So from this up side, we're going to go this way. Remember, this thing does not have shoulder, so we're going to go this way, all the way like so. We're going to go all the way like so and cut out. All right, all right, cut this place out as well. On the chest line, we're going to make this opening, and then do it this way. Okay, so this is it. Now this part is going off, remember. So this part is going off, and if you notice, I'm not going to go on the exact point. I'm just going to come in by half of an inch, a bit. The reason is because if I don't do that, it's going to be two pieces. That's when I cut it out, it's going to be two pieces. It's going to be like if I cut this exact place, by the time I cut it, this place will stand on its own, this place will stand on its own, and I don't want that. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is to take out this dart now. Now, if you notice this part, right, I did not cut out this part of this particular dart. So what I'm going to do is on the lining, I'm just going to indicate it and then sew it in like this. I'm just going to sew it in like this. Sew it in. So I'm going to make it of lace placement to be a lace placement thing. So if I don't want to sew it in, another thing I can do is just to pin it down. You can decide to pin down or to sew. This is what we have here. This is what we have here. So you can see why I said leave a little amount here on this place, so that if I had done it here, so that this place would have been into two, to not be standing like this. So this is basically what it is. Okay, this is basically what it is, right? And then the net will be this one. So yeah, we have it here. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you if you watched this time. Thank you very much. Do not forget to like, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell so that once I post a new video, you'll be one of the first set of people to get it and watch it as it comes. Thank you very much for joining. Till we see in our next video. Bye bye.